So I went to the British Museum with the previous church that I attended, and this is quite a few years ago now. And the preacher was with us, and there were 3 or 4 of us together. There were not so many, I can't remember exactly. And when we got there, it turned out that somebody had forgotten to bring the microphone. So, because he was going to give us his own spiel during the tour, and we were to listen on headphones. And I was quite glad, actually, in the end, that that had happened, because my take on the British Museum was destined to be quite different to the popular one. It's just in my nature to wander off and do my own thing, and that's exactly what I did. And I was fascinated by a very large exhibition of orreries on the ground floor, which nobody else in the church paid any attention to. But I looked at them carefully, exquisitely fashioned, and of course they were the precursors of our modern space films and space adventures and stories about space and descriptions of space that we be made to believe a lie. And that's what they were. They were theatrical devices that, with tremendous elegance, allow these orbs and spheres to rotate around one another, and the clockwork goes, and they must have been tremendously expensive and difficult to build, and yet they are absolutely wonderful. I think very valuable also. And they have so many of them. These would have been the very wealthy families would have had these. That's how it worked. That's how propaganda was spread, and still is, I think, just with modern means. And then we saw some biblical scenes on, I don't know whether they were frescoes or something, but paintings of, purported to be original, showing biblical scenes. And they looked a little bit amateurish, I thought. They weren't really bad, but they weren't very skilled in their representation of people. They were more symbolic. The lion looked a little bit funny, the way that lions do sometimes when they draw them. But in the Egyptian room, there were 2 great statues from one of the tombs. And these 2 creatures, which had, I think, human heads, but they had some non-human features in their bodies. I think so. I can't quite remember what they're like. But they were just so exquisitely fashioned. The perfect involutes and the perfect symmetry down the center line. These were, the magnificence of the craftsmanship was breathtaking. And apparently these were, of course, significantly older, we were told. And then you have something like the Rosetta Stone, which is also in the museum. And it just looks like something you find in the shed, a piece of nondescript slate or something with some hieroglyphics written across it. A scruffy piece of work, a scruffier piece of work I've hardly ever seen. But the Egyptian stuff was exquisite. So that's something that struck me. I don't know what it actually means. There are various interpretations, but the British Museum struck me as, a kind of a Masonic institution. That's what it is. You can join it also, and you become a member of the British Museum, and then you become, you're one of the intellectual class, as it were. You take an interest in ancient history, and you perhaps, if you're a wealthy person, you could support it in some way. It's a very important institution, and I think you can go and have dinner there, and you can have wine and all the rest of it, and I should think you might even get change from £50. So it would be quite a pleasant thing to do. But you're signing up to a world view, and people like me are can't really get involved in stuff like that unless we keep our mouths shut. And I do find that a bit difficult sometimes. I wish I could. I was accompanying a lady from church the other day, or from the church breakfast, and she's a pleasant soul, and she's stooped over rather badly, but she's still fiercely independent, as people can be. And I held the door for her as she was going out, and I walked up the road a little way and, helped her cross over, although I'm sure she could have done it without me. And she was telling me that she was interested in military history. That's how she spent her time. She watches documentaries and war films and so on. And I said, well, are these, are you talking of fictional accounts? And she insisted, no, this is all live footage that she likes to watch. And I just thought to myself, don't say it, don't say it. But I have to say it, They're reenactments. I don't know whether they're all reenactments. I can't attest to that. But certainly, most of those things are reenactments, and it's acknowledged that they're reenactments. If you dig hard enough, you'll find that information. We've seen it also in more recent conflicts. I'm sure it happened in Vietnam. If there are bullets flying around, the last place you want to be hanging out with a camera, isn't it, really? Cameras are good on the beach and on a movie set. So they're movie sets, that's what they are. Whether there's any bullets flying around at all or not, I just don't know. Maybe there are bullets flying around. I can't say. But a lot of the result that they're intending to achieve can be produced without needing really to fire anything other than to press the shutter of a few cameras or switch on some video equipment. Everything surrounding us is false. It's been created by proven liars. And yet, people will still tell me, but this happened and this is happening and such a person or leader is about to do this and about to do the other. That's as though those things have any relevance whatsoever. You're just believing a lie all the time. There's no point in paying attention to those things. It's just noise. So where do you pay your attention? Well, you have to read the Bible. You do have to do that. That's a requirement. Then you can cast it aside. If that's how it leaves you, cast it aside and follow your pantheistic gods. Follow your gods of the world. If you feel lucky. But I wouldn't recommend that at all, because I don't think it leads anywhere that I would like anybody to have to go. But I don't know. Some people will have to go there, I expect, for it to exist. Maybe a lot of people. Maybe most people. That's a frightening thought, isn't it? That will tell you why, as a Christian, you're unpopular if it's most people. But will it be you? And will it be me? Well, if the Bible's true, no, it won't be. Because you and I accept the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ and his true nature. And we hear his voice, we listen to his words, and we try to bring honor to his glorious name. God bless.